All right, so fantastic. So we're here to talk about Louisiana 4-H's 2025 SeaPerch competition. Um, so today, we are going to talk about SeaPerch. I know this is about year three of us doing it, but we always kind of make sure everyone's on the same page, knowing about what SeaPerch is, what it does. Then we'll go over the specifics of the competition, review the competition elements, what's different about this year than previous years. Again, the mission course changes every year. We'll talk about our pool rules and the awards, and finally end it with some Q&A time as well. All right, so first about SeaPerch. So SeaPerch is an underwater robotics competition. It is an underwater robotics program. It is all the things. So in this, youth have are currently or will shortly be getting their ROV kits, and they'll be developing a remotely underwater vehicle that operates under their power, and they use it to do certain things like run an obstacle course or complete a mission course. And they document what they're doing along the way, so they write technical design reports, and they're able to communicate that with others in interviews. We bring this all these skills into the competition. Again, where they do obstacle and mission courses, they submit technical design reports and interview with judges. And it's also a chance to build community as well. So the SeaPerch community is an international community. We were lucky enough that one of our 4-H teams was received an invitation to go to internationals last year in Maryland or DC, and it was a fantastic opportunity to see kids, playing hacky sack on the lawn of University of Maryland with different countries in one moment and talking underwater robots the next moment. So good times all around. To participate in the SeaPerch program, you do need a SeaPerch kit. We've been fortunate enough to work with what's called the DSEC program and trainers at LSU College of Engineering that have been able to provide those kits to the field. If you're still needing a kit, please do reach out to me and we can make sure we can get you one of those. You do need a build manual. Those are free to have. And then you also need some tools. SeaPerch.org sells tools as a complete kit. But I will say, as we talk about these things a little bit, most of the tools are not highly specialized. The most specialized pieces of equipment that you need are a soldering iron and a desoldering pump or desoldering wick, and maybe a multimeter, right? Those are the things that maybe not every household has, but in terms of drills and clamps, things like that, scissors, screwdrivers, most houses have that. The last thing that you need is someplace to practice. And this can also be a bit of a challenge because it's an underwater robot, so you need someplace to put the robot underwater. There are lots of different tips and tricks to kind of do this. One is to just when you're testing the buoyancy of the SeaPerch, you don't need anything necessarily bigger than a cow trough or a bathtub. You're just looking to make sure that SeaPerch is neutrally buoyant, that it doesn't want to sink right to the bottom, or that whenever you tell it to go down, when you tell it to descend with its thrusters, that it doesn't just pop back up like a cork automatically. You want a kind of neutral buoyancy with it. In terms of being able to practice navigating larger spaces, like on the mission and obstacle course, that's definitely where more people struggle at. We recommend reaching out to your local YMCAs or gym clubs that have pools to see if you can grab some lane time. Most of the time, they're pretty happy about letting y'all have some lane time, especially when it's not busy, to go in there as well. I've also, for outreach events, I've bought a couple of pools from Intech. The largest one I have that we brought to Ocean Commotion here in Baton Rouge is about 5 foot in length, so you could you could do several competition. You could do a competition element within it as well, and it certainly has the depth for you to do it. So I mentioned tools and supplies. This is a little bit more detail on what you need. So I mentioned the soldering iron and desoldering pump. Those are probably the most specialized tools, but clamp-on vise, PVC pipe cutter, wire strippers and cutters, nut driver, pliers, those pliers, screwdriver, the multimeter, sandpaper, super glue, toilet bowl wax, power drill. These are kind of the basic tools that you need. The build process is detailed in an instruction manual that is free to access on SeaPerch.org's website. Now, they also sell this as well. I don't recommend buying it for any particular reason since it's freely available. It's also available. I think we put a version of it on our website, if not, SeaPerch.org. SeaPerch.org also has videos, which is what these links are. And again, this PowerPoint will be made available on Louisiana 4-H's website, so you'll have these links available. They do have videos of assembly of the different SeaPerch components. So I actually was talking with a teacher last week on the way back from Rapides Parish, and she had some questions about the wire assembly in the thrusters, and I pointed her to these videos because they do a good close-up and detail of it. All right. So let's talk about the competition, or should we pause a moment? Are there any questions about the SeaPerch kit or the tools that are needed? All right, pregnant pause is over. Let's go to the competition. All right, so the Louisiana 4-H SeaPerch Challenge. This year we are holding it in Lafayette, and it's our intent to move it around the state a little bit because our competition is open to everyone from all regions. Not every person or organization, sorry, that's doing a contest in the state has it open to all regions. So this year we're in Lafayette. The pool name goes by the Earl J. Chris Pool, but it's attached to the back end of the Robichaux Recreation Center in Lafayette. So either searching for the Earl J. Chris Pool or the Robichaux Recreation Center will bring you to the correct address on Arrest Landry Drive. So we'll be at. Check-in is going to begin at 10 o'clock in the morning. There will be people there beforehand. Us and the volunteers will be setting up and things like that. But if your team's there before 10 o'clock, they might be waiting around a little bit for us to see them. But we will have our tables manned and ready to go at 10 o'clock. What to expect? When your team is ready to check in, we're going to make sure that your coach, all the team members that signed up for are present and accounted for. And we're going to take a look at your ROV, and it's going to go through a compliance check. And that compliance check is going to make sure that it meets the definition of a stock class ROV. That stock class, in a nutshell, means you can't spend more than $25 on modifications, no extra thrusters, no extra motors, no big things going on with the control board, and severe limitations to your 3D printed parts. In other words, your frame itself can't be 3D printed. So there's some things that we check for, and we also make sure it's safe, right? We don't, if your ROV looks like it's got loose wires or something that might get caught up in its propellers, we address that. We don't send you away. We work with you to fix it, but we want to make sure, again, that compliance check gets done. If not delivered ahead of time, at that moment, teams will get their rotation schedule for the day. And that rotation schedule is basically when they should be expected at the pool or when they're expected at the interview room with the judges and their teams. We expect our first set of rotations to begin at 10:30, so pretty sharp. Those first rotations are likely just to be interviews while we're still getting people in for the pool, but we'll kind of look at what our complete roster is before we make that determination. We intend to be done by 3 o'clock and have awards given out. Every SeaPerch challenge, we've hosted 3 ourselves, 2 with other 4-H groups, and I've been to a couple of others. Every SeaPerch event has its own unique challenges, and sometimes that interferes with the schedule, but it's definitely our intent to make sure we don't stay too late and that we're out by 3 o'clock. Our competition classes that we're offering this year, we are offering the middle school stock class and the high school stock class. So middle school stock, this is only youth in 8th grades and below. So in other words, your team can only include people 8th grade and below. Again, total modifications have to be less than $25. Youth in their technical design report will note what they've purchased and spent in addition to the kit to get to that point. We don't ask for copies of receipts, but we do ask for you to keep a ledger of that with your technical design report. Again, no machining or printing of frame parts, hooks, if you need devices that are hooks or even motor cowls, completely acceptable. Limit of 3 thrusters. Same limitations apply to the high school stock class, but high school stock class, if any of your members, and this is a little bit different than last year, if any of the members in that group are 9th grade or above, the entire group is high school stock class. Last year, the rule stated that high school class is only made of high schoolers, and if you had mixed, we would have an open class. We are not offering the open class this year, and so we are the way that SeaPerch International handles this, which is how we will adopt this, is again if you got a mixed group, and we do have teams that have reached out to me that have said they're mixed groups that have a ninth grader and some eighth graders. They will compete with the high school stock class as well. Registration is open. Registration is through Regbox. We will close registration February 17th. And again, it is open to all, whether you are a 4-H team or not a 4-H team. You are very welcome to go to this competition. I'll try to stop sharing in just a hot minute here and pull up this website. Just so you can see it. Moving all the things around. Okay. This is the SeaPerch registration website. Again, you'll need your team name, the school or organization that team is representing, the parish that school organization is located in, which class you'll be competing in, contact information for the team coach, select how many team members will be on that team. If you need more than 6 members on your team, do email me and let me know. You can have more than 6, but word of caution is in the interview process, every team member has to be able to contribute to that conversation and speak how they contributed equally to the project. And that gets to kind of be more of a challenge as you get over 6 people. All right, so once you select how many people you are, again, the names of those people, if you have more than 6, you can enter them right here, but the names of those people, and if they are 4-H members, their 4-H ID. And we'll get on to why we're harping about 4-H IDs in a little bit. If you can estimate your demographics for the team, that's super helpful for us in terms of our federal reporting. But we recognize that's not something that you are required to do, but it's, like I said, certainly helpful for us. The fee is $35. It is sent to me, but it's not made out to me. It is made out to the Louisiana 4-H Foundation, would be who those checks are made out to. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that screen and get back on to the presentation. Okay. How are we right now? Any questions? All right, y'all, we're gonna we might end early today.
You're doing great.
All right, thanks. All right, so contest elements. Let's talk about the contest. Again, the contest consists of 4 different elements: the technical design report, the team interview, and then 2 pool courses: the pool mission course and the pool obstacle course. Technical design report and team interviews. These are scored together into one lump category for us when we're awarding prizes. We call it the technical design category. So your technical design report is going to be worth 100 points, and I cannot emphasize this enough how important this element of the competition is, especially for teams that don't have or are unable to get a lot of experience in the pool. This thing right here makes and breaks a lot of teams and where they're placing. So highly recommend your teams give this section of the competition its fair due. There's a rubric that's available. We have that rubric online on our Louisiana 4-H SeaPerch website, which I will show. But yeah, abstract task overview, design approach, experimental results, reflections, acknowledgments, no page limit, references, no page limit, and then your appendices. And that appendices is where you include that budget, where you're essentially showing us what you spent on the SeaPerch. Real quick thing. Last year we did have a few teams show up without any modifications to their SeaPerch, and I did have one question about that so far this year. Your SeaPerch is going to need to be modified in order to successfully complete the mission course. And when we show the mission course, you'll see why. But your SeaPerch is definitely going to have to be modified. And it can probably be modified without buying anything if you have a kit, just to be able to use the parts that are in that kit to do that modification. But if you just enter the competition just with a stock SeaPerch, as it appears in your instruction manual, you're going to have some trouble completing all the elements. All right, so that's 100 points total. The interview is also 100 points. This will be about a 5-minute interview with the judges. And again, one of the more important things besides the content is that every team member speaks. So your teams should be practicing their interviews as well. Do some mock interviews. I believe we provide some example questions of what they may be asked. Where your team members practice who says what. It's not necessarily important that they are scripted, but they understand, who generally might take the lead on the question, who does the follow-up, what kind of follow-ups are they doing in there. During the interview process, they may have their engineering notebook or technical design report, I should say, with them for support. They can have their SeaPerch in with them for support. In terms of how they're being scored, again, that subject knowledge and preparation, the content, that's about 60 points, 60% of the total score, and their oral and verbal skills are 40 points. All right, on to the pool courses. So again, you have an obstacle course and a mission course. This is about how they'll be set up this year as well. So last year we had our obstacle and our pool courses side by side. Imagine, I keep on acting like y'all can see where I'm pointing at the screen. On that left-hand side where you've got the platforms and there's that itty bitty platform hanging down, like that is the front of the pool. In the rules, it's referenced as the pool side, but it's where you would be standing at. So those are suspended, will be suspended about 5 to 6 feet below the water surface, and about 5 to 6 feet from the side of that pool, from the front of the pool. That is our plan and intention. The pool in Lafayette has some differences in its slope that we might have to have a slightly different orientation in it, but we'll have to wait till we get how many lanes we'll actually need for that day to see what we'll need to do. But whether they're side by side or set, at opposite ends of the pool, we'll work that out. But these two things together, the obstacle course and the mission course, together, they are considered a single competition lane. So again, whether they are truly in one pool lane or side by side in two pool lanes like this, it is one competition lane. Teams, like last year, will have 20 minutes to complete both elements. So 20 minutes to complete all of the pool courses. The obstacle course. And real quick, whatever order they decide to do it in is up to them. They can even, for instance, I'm starting with the obstacle course first. The obstacle course gives you 2 attempts. They may decide to do 1 attempt on the obstacle course, move over to the mission, and go back to the obstacle course. So whatever order they want to go. Obstacle course, two runs, 2 attempts. Each run is limited to 4 minutes. So the maximum amount of time they're going to be able to spend on the obstacle course is going to be 8 minutes total. Let me go back here. All right. The obstacle course is a series of 5 hoops. The hoops are not necessarily going to be oriented like they are in this photo or any other photo that you see of the obstacle courses. What is going to be the same always is that there will be 5 hoops. But again, these get oriented differently year to year, contest to contest. Every obstacle course at our competition will be the same though. So, at this competition, each competition lane will have the same orientation, but it just might not be like the one that you're seeing here on the screen. All right, lastly is the mission course. The mission course teams may only attempt 1 run on this. This run is limited to 8 minutes maximum. So if we're doing our math here, right, it looks like we got about 16 minutes, and so you got 4 minutes of time in a pool run that's not spent on running. That time is basically to allow for setup and preparing between your attempts in the obstacle course, or preparing for your switch to go from obstacle to mission or vice versa. Or if you need to have a real quick repair at the pool side that we can take care of, then we'll take care of it there. All right, so let's see, obstacle course. How do we start and stop timers? So the start of the run, the ROV, your SeaPerch is going to be surfaced under its own power within the outline and surface within the outline of the surface vehicle. This color photograph that's in the top right hand section here with the two green floaties on it, that is the surface vehicle for this year. There will be a surface vehicle for both the obstacle and the mission course. It kind of represents a home base for the ROV to go to. So again, surfaced, and that just means any part of it. There it just is, if a portion of its floaty is above water, that is considered surface, but has to be under its own power. And then the judge is going to start a countdown timer. It's going to say, "You ready? All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1." After that judge starts the countdown timer, there is no more touching of the ROV. It's go time. At the conclusion of the countdown timer, when timer starts, teams submerge. They have to pass through each hoop. Then they will surface at the last hoop. So that means any part of it breaks the water. Doesn't have to be like a full-on Little Mermaid dive out of the water, just piece of it out of the water. Then they go and they travel back through the hoops in the reverse order. And again, the run is complete when that ROV surfaces at the surface vehicle. So it has to return back to the surface vehicle. All right, questions on the obstacle course?
Is there a certain way the kids have to approach the hoops? Like it's obvious in this picture that you'd go through and then come up from the bottom, but is that part of it?
Yeah, since I don't have like in my head how I'm orienting the hoops this year, no, but while a team is at the blocks at the pool looking at those, and they'll get a chance during check-in time also to kind of look at things and devise a strategy. It absolutely is appropriate to devise a strategy and say, hey, like this is what we're going to do, right? Now, like in this picture that you're looking at, like should the team have gone under the hoop, like approach the hoop from the top or from the bottom? No, that doesn't matter. There's probably an ideal way to do it, but whatever way the team does is fine. They will have to do it in the reverse order though, in order to get out without getting tangled up in the tether. Does that
Yes, thank you.
all right, absolutely. All right. All right, let's go on to the mission course. So this is this year's mission course. Notice we have a surface vehicle at the front at the edge of the pool where the ROV will start in, and we will this main platform with the green line on it. That's called the front platform. That front platform's leading edge will be what is 5 to 6 feet from the front of the pool. There is a smaller platform this year that is attached to it that sticks out a little bit. That smaller platform is going to be a little closer than that 5 to 6 feet mark. We're measuring it from the edge of the front platform. This year's theme for mission is coral, deep sea coral monitoring and restoration. So everything involved here is going to be involved kind of like with coral. There are 110 points available to the pool mission course. The extra 10 points, they are bonus points awarded for completing it under, I think the first mark is 6 minutes and the next mark is 4 minutes, completing it in that amount of time. All right, so much like the obstacle course, you start the run with ROV surfaced and within the outline of the surface vehicle, and then the judge will start a countdown timer. Once the countdown timer started, teams may not touch their ROV. When go is, when it's time to go and the timer starts, with only a couple of exceptions, the tasks here can be completed in any order that a team wants. So this is a really neat part of the contest when your teams are looking at the rules for them really to kind of make up a strategy for how to complete things, in the most efficient way possible. I do want to note that whether your task frames are on the floor of the pool or not, if an object falls past the task frame, then that object is considered out of play. So as we go on, we'll see there's a few objects they move around. If for some reason they're dropped or whatever like that, the ROV cannot go retrieve them. They are considered out of play. So important to make sure that the ROV maintains possession of those. So I mentioned everything can be completed in order except for a couple of things. So one, what is called task one is the hatch door. In order to receive points for opening the hatch door, it has to be opened before removing or placing objects in the bio baskets or bio buckets that are beneath them. So and you can see in this image, there's a couple of baskets there. Again, that has to be opened before placing objects in there in order to receive points for the door opening part. You would still receive some points for placing the objects in there, but you would no longer receive points even if you open the door later. All right, so next, to receive points for moving the marine life from the hatch, that thing with the green tentacles there, that's marine life. So receiving points for moving the marine life from the hatch in task 2, it must be removed from the hatch prior to opening the hatch. What that means is if you are opening the hatch without removing the marine life first, and as the hatch opens and the marine life falls off, you would not receive points for that marine life falling off. Okay, those are the only exceptions. So let's talk about it now. If everything works according to plan, the way I've got this PowerPoint set up is that you should be able to click on any of these to go to that particular task number. All right, so I'm going to click on bio bucket. There we go. Nice. So the bio bucket, that's a total of up to 14 points. Bio bucket access, the hatch, is worth up to 14 points total. The first part is opening it. So you will have to take this lever where you see this green kind of half circle. You'll have to maneuver this lever and it will lift the hatch. That's 4 points. If you close the hatch, that's an additional 10 points. I will say we were able to use these in the Rapids contest last week, and the hatches actually worked this year. We had a bit of trouble with our hatches last year, not being really agreeable with us, but they seem to work pretty well this year. So we approved. All right. The second task is marine life. So the first one is removing that marine life from the top of that hatch and moving it to the front platform. You get 3 points just for removing it. Again, if it's dropped along the way, you don't lose those 3 points. You removed it, you get the 3 points. However, if you're able to get it to the front platform, that's an additional 6 points. All right, there's some more marine life to manage. So on this front platform, there is what's called the new species, and this new species is a fish. So the ROV must retrieve this new species from the seagrass area on the front platform and place it in the bio bucket on the back platform. If you maneuver through the bio hatch when you're doing it, you get some extra points. So moving the species into the bucket is 10 points. If you're moving it through the hatch while you do that, you tack on another 6 points. All right, task 3 is our hanging coral. So in the bio buckets, you will have a couple of pieces of coral that'll have some yellow ropes to them, all right? Moving those pieces to the trees is how you earn points for this task. Each coral sample on the tree that you hang is worth 6 points. If you hang the coral samples on different branches on the tree, that's worth an additional 3 points, all right? So you kind of have to figure like, well, am I going to take both at once and then hang them on the same branch, or am I going to make trips back and forth? Is my ROV capable of doing that? And then maybe, I can remove one from one branch, move to the other. Again, that's where the strategy comes into play. But there's also an additional 3 points for each coral sample that's moved through the hatch. So a total of another 6 points can be earned just by moving both coral pieces through the hatch. So 21 points total for this element. All right, let's go to our sea sponge. Our sea sponge is basically a loofah with some weights on it. We did have an issue with one of these kind of being a little more buoyant than the authors of these tasks intended. We are looking at that and addressing it, but for this task, you're gonna have to collect the sea sponge from the front platform and place it in one of the bio buckets on the back platform. if you maneuver through the open hatch and place a sea sponge in the bio bucket, then you get an additional 3 points. There's also some deep sea coral. So on that front platform, there's the deep sea platform. You're going to have a set of yellow or orange PVC pipes that kind of look like a cross, like a spider. If you take that deep sea coral and move it to the bio bucket, well, that's 8 points. And again, you get some extra points, 3 points extra if you take it through the hatch while you're doing it. Okay. And I believe that is all of our tasks that we have set up for this year's contest. So again, that's 100 points regular scoring, but there are additional points for completing it in I think 6 and 4 minutes for the 2 different markers that we have. All right, any questions on the obstacle course before we talk about general pool rules?
You gave us the dimensions like of where the platforms would be, but are there dimensions for like that hatch and all the different pieces so that the kids could practice like distance running?
All right, so really good question. There is a build guide out there that has the dimensions on there. I don't personally have the dimensions, but we can pull that up. I can show you where they're found on SeaPerch fairly quickly, and that would be where you would look for the exact dimensions. I do have the sorry, apparently I can't chew gum and type at the same time. The student guide is on our website, and there are some additional dimensions that are given in terms of like the spacing between platforms and such.
Okay.
But of the actual hatch itself, let's see. Two versus. Okay, so let me stop sharing my screen, and then I'll share this new screen. Okay, so where I'm at right now is I've gone to seaperch.org and I've gone to their 2025 competition season. I've scrolled down the page. I've ignored the team handbook for now. Maybe I'll just open that in a new tab so we can see what it looks like. But I've gone down to the competition elements, and in here on the pool courses, here is the build guide. So the build guide, let's see, bio bucket hatch. There we go. Tells you the exact dimensions of all the parts and pieces that are used on there, including the corrugated plastic board, sorry, on top. So you do have access to all of that. In the normal team handbook, if we look there, which again contains kind of the official rules, this is where I was mentioning they would give you dimensions for, what to expect for the pool platforms and whatnot.
Okay. And then looking at the site you were on before, I'm assuming the dimension of the hoops is under the obstacle course build guide.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. There you go. Great question. I love it. All right, let me get back to stop sharing this one and all right, perfect. All right, great question. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our pool rules that we run at Louisiana SeaPerch. They're pretty much the same. There's a couple of differences from the international competition. I make sure to highlight those. I don't want to spend reading this big wall of text, but I'll kind of go over a couple of important things. One, you leave the party with who you came with, right? So like the SeaPerch you bring, that's the SeaPerch that you use. You're allowed to bring spare parts, but you can't make wholesale modifications to it while you're at the competition, all right? That includes like taking things on and off. So I've had people ask me, well, I want one attachment on like a hook for the mission course, but not on the obstacle course. You got to leave it on. Now you can reposition it. So if you can design your SeaPerch where that hook can be repositioned, move like fold forward, backward, or whatever you decide, that is okay. So it can be rotated or swiveled, but you can't like disassemble, remove it, put on new things. All right. And again, adjustments can be made, right? If you got to work on buoyancy, things aren't, because I'll be honest, like pool water is different from point A to point B. Chlorine only pools and saltwater pools have different buoyancy. So we totally recognize that. We want kids to have a really good time. So we'll allow you some time in the pool. If you need to adjust your buoyancy, that is absolutely okay. Um, all right, if you're in the middle of a run and you've got a wire that's kind of acting loose and you need to tape it up or a cable tie or something like that, you can do that. You can make that adjustment. The timer's going to keep on running, but you can absolutely do that. Failed or damaged parts, they can also be replaced. Now, if you have a catastrophic failure, we'll talk a little bit about how we deal with that in a minute, but basically your timer's probably going to stop in that case and you'll get repositioned in the contest in terms of where your pool lane is. But we'll go over that in a second. But yes, if you have a catastrophic failure, we're going to try to make sure that you still have in your team, still have a run as well. All right. All right. So one of the big differences, all right, that you will experience in the international guide, it says that power supplies are provided for the teams. We do not do that. Every team must bring their own battery for their ROV. All right, so your ROV battery, 6.5 inches long, 3 inches wide, 4 inches high, 12-volt DC max, and 9 amp hour maximum rating. So your batteries that you get with your SeaPerch kits are standard. They're great. Please do make sure they're charged for the day of the competition. But that's one big difference. All right. We do provide accommodations and waivers for any special, ADA compliance. However, those must be made in writing to me by February 17th in order for us to work on those accommodations. So please make sure if your team needs some kind of special accommodation in the interview or the written portion or something like that, that those are communicated to me. We do expect everyone to maintain good sportsmanship while they're at the pool, listening to judges and so on. At the pool, by the way, we are only going to allow, despite whether your team is 4 or 6 or plus members, only 4 team members can go to the competition lane. And again, not the judges, just 4 team members. Now, only 2 team members are going to be on the active course lane. So in other words, like you might have 2 team members hanging out at the mission course while 2 others are at the obstacle course with the ROV. Those 2 active members are the only person that can speak to that lane judge while they're running. Now, team members can switch out at any point. Okay. So your driver, your not driver, your tether feeder, or the people that are in the inactive lane, they can switch at any point in time that they want to for as many times as they want to with no penalty except for whatever they're using off the time clock. But only those 2 people that are active participants, actively competing, can communicate with the lane judge. We'll have some sort of barrier or ribbon for which parents and judges need to make sure you stand behind. This not only ensures a good contest, but again, it's kind of a safety issue, right? Make sure that your youth are bringing rubber-soled shoes for the pool deck. All right, so equipment failure. What do we do with equipment failure? If it's between pool events, we'll pause timer and you'll get to work on that at the ROV first aid station, or what's called triage. It's meant for so first aid is quick repairs, 15 minutes or less. Like if you have I think we had a propeller fall off in Rapides and we really quickly dried it off, dried the shaft off, reapplied glue, dried it, took about 5 minutes, a little less. But it's not going to be able to resolder bad wiring connections or if you blow a fuse, the fuse was soldered in wrong and you got to resolder something that's not going to be for that. All right, but let's say it's just, again, that first aid station. You'll re-enter the queue back at the front of the line in the queue and re-go with your run if possible in that same 20-minute time slot. But if not, you'll just kind of re-enter the queue at the front. However, if you can't finish that repair in 15 minutes, then we're going to send you over triage, where we'll have an actual repair table able to work with you on soldering and such. If you end up at triage, you'll need to go kind of do a compliance check again real quick, but we'll do that for you at the we'll do that for you at the triage table. And then you're going to re-enter the competition lane, but it might not be in the front, right? We're going to fit you in where it looks like we can fit you in. All right, so what happens if it's not between pool events? What if if it's during the pool event? So if it malfunctions before the first mission task is attempted, or before the first obstacle course hoop is driven through, the team can elect to stop their run, no time penalty, make the repairs as described. But if you've attempted those things, if you're kind of in there, we'll stop the timer, and basically that'll be taken off of whatever new run you receive. So if you're 5 minutes into or 3 minutes into your mission course, for instance, and you have a catastrophic failure, have to abort the run, we'll pause the timer at that point, perform the triage. When you're back at the pool again, we'll start the timer, but you will get that time penalty. In other words, you won't get that first 3 minutes back. All right. All right. If your team, if the day is long and you're at the last time slot and you have a catastrophic failure, we don't guarantee that you're able to compete, and we just write that there to make sure that not to scare anyone, but that we're going to try our best. But if it's at the end of the day, we might get pushed up on time. But like I said before, we want to make sure every team has a great time. We're going to do everything that we can to make sure everyone gets in the pool and works through any issues that they have. Disputes, challenges. So again, sportsmanship is always expected. Team members and advisors are responsible for the conduct happening around them. If it's unsportsmanlike conduct, that can result in disqualification. Teams are not allowed to raise questions concerning other competitors or other team scores. Okay, you're here to raise questions about your own score and your own team. We talked about lane judges. Only 2 competitors talking to the lane judges. Other team members, chaperones, spectators, judges. They also need to not speak with the divers. So we will have a couple of divers in the pool. They need to be able to concentrate on what the lane judges are telling them. So please don't speak with the divers while they're in there. At the end of every mission course run, we'll have a score sheet that a team member will sign off on. So if there is a disagreement about or discrepancy about the score, then that's that chance for that team member to ask the lane judge for a second opinion on it. And it'll be addressed there. Now, if there's still a disagreement, we'll bring that up to an official judge. Now, I will likely not be serving as a lane judge. I'll likely be serving as an official. So that would be brought up to myself or another volunteer in my stead. All right. If the ROV is inadvertently interfered with, all right. So let's say like this can absolutely happen, right? Let's say one of our divers accidentally does a big old kick and pushes the sea sponge off of the platform with wave motion or whatever, and while a team's in the middle of their run. The competing team needs to alert the judge and get a ruling at that point. Again, every SeaPerch competition is a little bit different. Every run might have its own technical challenges, so we deal with those on a case-by-case basis. But again, our overall philosophy is to make sure we have a fair and fun competition for the youth. Okay, awards. So we will have 2 overall winners, one in the high school stock and one in the middle school stock, and that is taken by adding the scores for the mission course, the technical design, and the interview together. The obstacle course is used as a tiebreaker in those cases. So the obstacle course is very important, but is typically used by us as a tiebreaker. Then we'll also have event champions. So our event champions include first through third places in the mission course, the obstacle course, and then a champion in the presentation and technical design report. So that is one champion, your presentation and technical design report. Lastly, we will offer 3 specialty awards. One in sportsmanship, somebody or a team that is kind of demonstrating that spirit of SeaPerch and that community that we believe that SeaPerch is about. One is the Resiliency and Grit Award, and that award is given to teams that have encountered some difficulties either before or after the competition. Either communicating that in their technical design report or during the interview, or we're seeing it during the day, and they just stuck with it. They get the Resiliency and Grit. And then there's the Ingenuity Award, and that's for teams that have a unique approach to solving the problems that SeaPerch can present. And again, that can be before or after the competition. We will have sheets, kind of like nomination forms that we're handing out to all the lane judges and our volunteers, and even parents and others can pick these up if they'd like to during the day and be able to fill these out and turn these in if they're turned in by the designated time during the day. We look at all those to kind of make a determination of who will win those specialty awards. All right. So with those awards, let's talk about the invitations to international. So currently we have 3 invitations to the international competition in DC. Currently, or sorry, not currently, we are awarding these to the the middle school stock class, and high school stock class champions, and 1 specialty award winner. So again, the specialty awards are big deals. So one of those gets the invitation as well. Should any of the teams that are competing decline, then the invitations offered to the second place overall winners and so on down the line. And that can happen, right? Some teams are they're here to compete, not necessarily do international. Some teams have already qualified for internationals, and they're here at our competition just to get more experience before going on to DC. So there's a multitude of reasons why teams may decline. All right, so I talked about 4-H. If you're a 4-H team and you receive that invitation, then we're going to pay for that team's registration, airfare, ground transportation, and per diem to go to DC, and that's for a 4-team maximum. So if you got other people beyond the 4 members, we can divide that same amount against the 6 or whatever members, but that's for an average size of 4 members. There is a $250 deposit per person that's participating. That's just making sure we got skin in the game as we're paying for this trip. To count as a 4-H member, you need to be a 4-H member 30 days prior to the event. So that's coming up here at the end of the month pretty soon. So enrolling in 4-H online or enrolling in 4-H is super easy. It's basically enrolling in our online system called 4-H Online, and agents in every parish are there to assist you. We're here to assist you. It's a $5 state fee. Parishes handle it differently. Some parishes have a $5 fee, some have none, some have it paid for. It just really depends on your parish situation. But the benefits of getting this potentially paid for is enormous. If you are a 4-H team, and you are, let's say we get 3 invitations and none of them are 4-H teams. They're all non-4-H teams. We do have recognition for our top winning 4-H teams. I need to speak with Dr. Tarifa and Dr. Williams again about what it is this year, but I want to say last year, I forgot if we sent them to Ignite or Congress, but we'll also have an award for those teams as well. All right, any questions about the rules that we just went over, or the invitations to internationals, or how we award teams? So we do have resources. One is I mentioned that we have a website, Louisiana 4-H SeaPerch page. I'm going to stop sharing this and share the actual website with you. There we go. So this is our page. Again, it's got links to registration. It had a link for today's webinar. I will post this webinar, link to the video of this webinar on this page, as well as this PowerPoint. Details on the equipment. These will take you to links for like your construction kit, your basic tools, manuals, so on. Some additional helpful resources, including those videos that show you some more details of the build processes, information about, again, your classes and what will your team be judged on at the contest. Again, we do have examples of those possible interview questions located here as well. So again, great opportunity for your teams to practice those interviews, and cannot stress enough how important the technical design report and the team interview is for overall placement in a contest. Again, the pool is half of it. The other half is not the pool. All right, so we got details on all those things. And again, if you didn't need one registration button, we got two registration buttons. Our team rules and again, rubrics and details and rubrics for how each of those competition elements will be scored are also going to be provided for you as well. All right, so let me go ahead and get back to the PowerPoint. Okay, some other resources that are linked in here is the handbook. I showed you on that webpage what that handbook looks like. Some other build resources, the manual. Again, you want to buy the manual, go for it, but the manual is available online. Places to buy kits, parts, and tools, and even a virtual SeaPerch. A virtual SeaPerch is kind of an online program, and it lets you like try out some different pipe pieces and whatnot to see what a potential SeaPerch may look like. All right, and that's about it that we have today. I did mention way early in this meeting that if you are still without a kit, to let me know. Again, we were very fortunate to have trainings available in the state that if you attended the training, you could request a kit for every 4 youth you had competing. I know a lot of those kits have gone out this already. Much better turnaround than we had last year. But if you're still needing a kit, yeah, reach out to me and we'll see how we can get you one of those as well. I know Ascension Parish, for instance, has reached out to me and they'll be grabbing one soon. So with that, Q&A time.
Is there a certain way that we should value a part if they 3D, like a modification, if they 3D print something for the ROV?
Yes, take the value of the filament that's being used, the total value of what that filament cost, and take an approximation of what percentage of that filament was used. So if it was, 10 yards of filament and you used, 1 yard, that'd be 10% of the cost of that filament. So that would be how you go about that.
Okay, perfect.
All right, any other questions? Well,
Just to
hearing none.
make just to
Sorry.
make sure there's no practice runs, correct?
Correct. We will have a lane or section of the pool dedicated to you making sure the buoyancy of the SeaPerch is good. That it's operational and that you need to make any adjustments. We will not have any competition elements in that practice area, so there will be no practice runs. Correct. Well, all right, friends. As I
Brian, there's a question in the chat about the deadline. There's a question in the chat.
Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry I missed it. Let's see. Oh man, I got a lot of scrolling to do. It's transcribing, so I've got like oh wait a minute. Oh, there we go. There we go. Sorry, I was on the transcription page. I was like, I can't see it. What is the deadline to sign up and pay for the March 1st competition? The deadline to register is February 17th. So your registration needs to be online by that point. Your payment does not have to be in at February 17th. We will hold your spot for you there. And in fact, although we don't like it because it takes a little bit longer for you to check in, if you haven't had payment in by the time that you're competing, we'll accept checks and cash at the competition itself. So that's okay as well. However, a team must have been both registered and paid before they'll receive their compliance checks. So if you were registered and you're at the contest and you're like, hey, the check's in the mail, you will need to have a form of payment on you that day before you're allowed to go through compliance checks. And then we'll just, if the check is really in the mail, and once we get it, we'll just tear it up and, call it good.
And to clarify one more time, because I know we have non-Ag Center people in, that for the March 1st competition, the contestants would have to be registered in 4-H Online by February 1st, correct?
30 days before the event is
Okay,
is
so
our
that would
policy.
be January, since
Yeah,
February has 28 days,
yeah, so I think that's
January 28th,
January
29th.
30th. I think January 30th would be the deadline on that then.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure for everybody that we know 4-H registrations, 4-H online registrations have to be in by the end of this month.
Right. I appreciate
Okay.
that. Yes.
No problem.
And Julie, I do see you have another question. Will we have access to the PowerPoint after the webinar? Yes. And I think I mentioned I will post it on our SeaPerch website. And let me go ahead and take a hot Control C, Control V take on that. So there's the link to that website in the chat. We'll post both of them there, and the video, like I said, will be on YouTube as well. One last thing. I know last year I had a question about would we be able to show any ROVs attempting any of the competition elements. We're still working on that. No guarantee we'll have that out. In previous years, SeaPerch.org has provided those videos. Last year they did not, so I don't know if they've decided to discontinue that. If that was, I guess, making people a little less creative because they're all attempting it the way the video showed it. So we're taking that under consideration, and if we can, we'll definitely do it. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here today, and thanks for the great questions. They're really good. I'm excited about our competition in March. I think we've gotten a little better each year. Again, going to DC last year with our team was definitely one of those benchmarks in my life, and I'm looking forward to it again. So if you have any questions along the way, please email me. Don't hesitate to ask. And hopefully we'll see y'all in March.